I just got back from seeing Straight Outta Compton. That's right. The new biopic about the NWA, which this movie is mainly focusing on Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, and Eazy-E. Now, I was pretty damn excited for this movie. The trailers for this movie looked spectacular. I'm not even that big of an NWA fan, personally. The only song of theirs I actually really like is the title song, Straight Outta Compton. That's about it. Other than that, not a big NWA fan, but the trailers look damn good. I was so excited to see this movie, and my first, impressions of this movie and my thoughts on this movie in general is I absolutely love this movie. I did. I had high expectations for it. It didn't disappoint. In fact, it may have even went beyond my expectations. So let's talk about Straight Outta Compton. Like I said, this movie focuses on the NWA, how they came to form the NWA, what caused them to break up, and the stuff that happened along the way, and how their music kind of revolutionized the rap era back in the late 80s and early 90s. But let's talk about some of the cast. And I don't know every actor's name in this movie without looking it up, but O'Shea Jackson Jr. is playing Ice Cube, and it's actually Ice Cube's real-life son. And I'm going to say right off the bat that the casting in this movie was fucking perfect. These guys nailed their parts. They really did. You can think that, hey, I feel like I'm in the late 80s, early 90s, this is the real Ice Cube, and, that's what kind of feeling that the movie gives off and the performances give off. The guy who played Dr. Dre, once again, did great. The guy who played Eazy-E did great. We have Paul Giamatti in this movie as Jerry, what was his last name? Jerry Heller, who was their manager. Paul Giamatti's really, really good in this movie. All the performances are spectacular. So, yeah, like I said, guys, I absolutely love this movie. There's not really much I can talk about, for spoiler purposes, I guess, but I really don't see how this movie can have any spoilers, because, it's based on a true story, and, Ice Cube and Dr. Dre were very heavily involved with the making of this movie, and so was Eazy-E's wife. The stuff that happens in this movie, they said, is pretty accurate. If you look up your history in the NWA, there's really nothing to spoil because that's the history. But there are a couple things that I do want to talk about. If you don't know the history of NWA, maybe I'll talk about a little bit later in this video. There's one thing in particular I do want to talk about. The energy of this movie, like I said, guys, I'm not even a big NWA fan aside from one song, but every time that they are making their songs in this movie, and every time they are performing these songs at concerts in this movie, you can just feel the energy, and you just can't help but bob your head and get jiggy with it, is how Big Willie Smith would say it back in the 90s. Yeah, you just can't help but groove along with it, and that adds to the experience of this movie. This movie is directed by F. Gary Gray. Who I like as a director. I mean, I haven't seen too many of his movies, but I have seen a few, and from what I've seen of his movies, he's very, very good at directing. This movie is, no exception. It's spectacular. It's beautifully shot. Like I said, the music just adds to it. The casting's perfect. The visual, like the cinematography and stuff like that, is really, really great in this movie. There's a few great cameos. They're not really like cameos. They're like you'll see some young versions of other rappers that you guys may know popping up in this movie, and those are pretty cool. There's one in particular that I figured would pop up in the movie, but I'm like, maybe he won't. I don't know. Sure enough, he popped up in this movie, and when you see him, you're gonna swear that that's the real life guy, and they just stuck somebody's name on there as the credits. Like, that's how, like I said, even the cameos are perfectly cast in this movie. So, my rating for Straight Outta Compton is, I'm gonna give it an A+. I am. I absolutely love this movie. It is. I think I'm gonna go on record and say it is my favorite movie of the year so far. Um, there's a couple ones that have come close. Inside Out, I really love. Jurassic World, Terminator Genesis, which I haven't reviewed yet, but maybe at some point I will. Uh, but yeah, there's a lot of great movies this year. This one might be my favorite movie of the year. Um, it's still not the best rap movie. I still say 8 Mile is the better rap movie personally, but this is my favorite movie of 2015 so far. I absolutely love it. High A plus. Even if you guys like me are not a big fan of NWA or you don't even know any of the history of NWA, this is a great film to check out. Highly recommended across the board, whether you like NWA, whether you don't. Whether you know about NWA or again whether you don't. Like I knew, a good chunk of the NWA history, but there was stuff in this movie that I didn't know. And after watching this movie, I looked it up to see, if that was actually accurate. And, sure enough, most of the stuff that I was questioned about was actually happened. So, that was pretty good. But I knew a lot about the NWA history, but there was some stuff, like I said, I didn't know and I had to go look up. But, yeah, absolutely love this movie. There is one thing I want to talk about, and I guess spoiler alert. But like I said, this is history. This is actual history that you can look up. Then this is what happened. So, but if you don't even know that, here's a spoiler alert for you. There was a few times where it got pretty emotional. Like there was two scenes in particular where I was tearing up. One scene I was tearing up, and then one scene I was like crying, like silently crying in my seat. Um, so one thing I want to talk about, the main thing is Eazy-E's death. When the movie first started, I was saying to myself and the people I was watching it with, I'm like, they're going to end this movie with Eazy-E dying. And sure enough, it is the end of the movie. And, like I said, not big of an NWA fan, not really a fan of Eazy-E, but, watching this character in this movie, you get emotionally attached. And then when he passes at the end of the movie, you feel it, and it sucks. So yeah, Straight Outta Compton is getting a high A plus. My favorite movie of the year. Have you guys seen Straight Outta Compton yet? What did you think about it? Comment your thoughts down below and let me know. Well, see you later.